In January of 2026, the United States did something that had not happened in decades. They flew into another country, grabbed its sitting president out of his own bed, and flew him across the ocean to stand trial. The whole thing took 2 hours and 28 minutes. That is shorter than most movies. In fact, it is one of the shortest wars in all of history. And the story of how it actually happened is completely insane. So take a breath and let's walk through it, step by step, from the very beginning. First, you need to understand who Nicolas Maduro was, because none of this makes sense without him. Maduro was the president of Venezuela. That is a country in South America sitting on top of the largest oil reserves on the entire planet. Not one of the largest, the largest. Remember that fact, because it matters a lot later. He had ruled Venezuela for over a decade, but to his critics, he was not really a president at all. He was a dictator. He was accused of rigging elections to stay in power, of throwing his opponents in jail, of slowly running one of the richest countries in the region straight into the ground, while millions of his own people fled Venezuela just to survive. Think about that for a second. A country floating on the world's biggest supply of oil, and its people were escaping on foot to find food. The United States went even further than just calling him a dictator. They accused Maduro of being a drug lord. They claimed he sat at the very top of a massive network smuggling cocaine toward America. To back it up, they put a $50 million bounty on his head. $50 million for information leading to his capture. And yet, for years, nothing happened. Sanctions, angry speeches, threats, and through all of it, Maduro just stayed in power and laughed it off. Then in 2025, quietly, everything started to change. Here is the part almost nobody saw coming. And this is where it stops sounding like politics and starts sounding like a spy movie. Back in August, months before anything visibly happened, the CIA secretly slipped a small team of agents into Venezuela. Their only job was to watch Maduro, and not in a general one. They studied his entire life in detail, where he slept each night, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, even the names of his pets. They had a source working on the inside, someone close to Maduro himself, quietly feeding information back to America the whole time. So picture that. For months, while Maduro went about his life feeling powerful and untouchable, there were people right next to him mapping out his every move. He had no idea. None. At the same time, out in the open, America started turning up the pressure. A massive fleet of U.S. warships began gathering in the Caribbean Sea, right off Venezuela's coast. That included the most advanced aircraft carrier in the entire American Navy. Officially, the ships were there to stop drug boats, and warplanes did start striking vessels the U.S. claimed were smuggling drugs. To Maduro, this all looked like America just flexing, making noise to scare him. So he did what dictators do. He held giant rallies. He gathered his soldiers. He told his people to get ready to resist the empire to the north. But here is the thing he got wrong. Behind the scenes, this was not noise. Every warship, every strike, every headline was part of the setup. And then came the phone call. In a private conversation, the American president got Maduro on the line and gave him one final choice. Step down, leave the country. Do this the easy way. It was essentially an ultimatum, delivered directly, leader to leader. Surrender or face what comes next. Maduro said no. He believed he was completely safe. He was tucked inside a heavily guarded compound in the capital city, surrounded by loyal soldiers and foreign bodyguards. In his mind, there was simply no way on earth that anyone could ever reach him in there. That belief was his final mistake. Now here's a detail that honestly sounds made up, but it is real, and it is one of the best parts of the whole story. To get ready for the raid, American Special Forces built a full-size fake copy of Maduro's compound, an entire replica somewhere far away just to practice on. And they rehearsed the mission on that fake compound over and over for months. Every hallway, every door, every single thing that could possibly go wrong. They ran it again and again until they physically could not get it wrong. If that sounds familiar, it should. It is the exact same method used years earlier to train for the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. By late December, the plan was approved and ready. Now they just needed one thing: the perfect night. That night arrived on January 3rd, 2026. A break in the bad weather finally opened up a clear path for the pilots to fly into the capital. The order went out, and all across the region, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and at sea. Over 150 aircraft in total, around 200 Americans, going in. Let that number sink in. Over 150 aircraft to grab one man. Then the lights in the capital went dark. Helicopters carrying the extraction team flew in low, just 100 feet above the water, to stay hidden from radar. Other aircraft blasted Venezuela's air defenses to clear a safe path through. Explosions lit up a major military base inside the city, and through all that chaos, the helicopters slipped quietly toward one specific building, Maduro's home. Inside, Maduro and his wife were fast asleep. They had no warning at all. According to the Americans, they realized something was wrong only about 3 minutes before the soldiers arrived, when his wife whispered that she thought she heard aircraft outside. 3 minutes. That was all the warning the most wanted man in the hemisphere got. By then, it was already over. Elite soldiers wearing night vision goggles breached the compound in total darkness. Maduro woke up to find his fortress being stormed from every direction. In a panic, he ran for a reinforced steel safe room, a hidden panic room built for exactly this moment. He did not make it in time. The soldiers caught him and his wife just before they reached the door. There was a firefight with his guards on the way in. But the target was secured. The president of Venezuela was now in American hands, inside his own bedroom. And this might be the single wildest detail of all. Back in Florida, the American president watched the entire raid happen live, on screens set up in a room at his private club. He later described it like watching a television show, in real time as it unfolded, thousands of miles away. The soldiers did not linger. With Maduro and his wife in custody, the team rushed straight back to the helicopters and lifted off into the night. By around 3:30 in the morning, they were back over the water and safely aboard a U.S. warship waiting offshore. From the first shot to the final extraction, the whole operation had taken just 2 hours and 28 minutes. A sitting president, snatched from his own capital city, in less time than it takes to watch a film. Maduro was flown straight to New York City, and within days he was standing in an American courtroom, thousands of miles from home, facing charges of drug trafficking and terrorism. Standing there, he said he considered himself a prisoner of war, captured at his own house. He pleaded not guilty, but it did not matter. The man who had ruled Venezuela for over a decade was finished. Back home, a new interim leader was quickly sworn in to replace him. Now here is where you have to be fair, because not everyone around the world cheered. Many countries, including some of America's own close allies, openly condemned the raid. Critics called it a dangerous precedent. Think about what that means. The idea that a powerful country can simply fly into another nation, in the dark, and carry off its leader, whatever the reason. That made a lot of people around the world deeply, deeply uneasy. And there was one uncomfortable question hanging over the entire thing. Remember that fact from the very start. Venezuela sits on the biggest oil reserves on the planet. So people asked, was this really about stopping drugs and restoring democracy? Or was it quietly about the oil? The raid was not bloodless either. Dozens of Venezuelans defending the compound were killed, along with a number of foreign bodyguards protecting the president. So what you are left with is one of the strangest events in modern history. A president tracked for months by hidden spies, warned by a single phone call, and then lifted from his own bed in the dark, in under 3 hours, while the man who ordered it watched the whole thing live, like entertainment. Whatever you think about it, whether you see it as justice or as something much scarier, the world just learned a brand new lesson. No leader, no palace, and no fortress is ever quite as safe as it used to be.